Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I have my friend and my GOAT master, Alexander Wells. This past week, Alex was involved in, I believe it was the Facebook group GOAT format tournament online?
GFC 17.
GFC 17 right there. And Alex is playing something different. Alex, what deck are you playing?
I'm playing Panda Burn with a little spice in it.
A little spice. How many rounds do you play?
6 rounds total. It's double elimination. 266 people entered. Lost round 1 to Chaos Turbo. Then I had to fight for my life the next 5 rounds. Ended up losing game 3 against Water Jank. But it was a good run. The deck performed fairly well. Saw a lot of things I expected, saw some things I didn't. So, good time.
All right, before we get started with the profile, do you have any shout outs, anything you want to give?
Shout out to P-Ray. P-Ray, him and I worked a lot on this deck to get it where it's at, and got a lot of success with it. In playtesting, I went 15-3, so the deck performed pretty well in playtesting and fairly well in tournament. So.
All right, that's good to know, Alex. Let's get with the profile, the Panda Burn.
So we're gonna start with the monsters. The boy, of course, 3 Gakugai or Panda. Best beat stick in the deck, you know. Pierces stuff, pierces the Ojama tokens, get you where you need to be. I went with 3 Giant Rat. I've seen some lists go between 2 to 3, just depends on what you want, but I mean he floats in everything you need, so
Makes
really
sense.
good card.
Makes sense.
Card. Next we got the 1 Injection Fairy Lily. Beats over most problematic monsters in the format. Play 1 Exile Force as well. Giant Rat can float both of these, so of course very staple in this type of deck.
Makes sense.
Next you got both Jars. The deck lacks draw power, so if you can resolve a Jar, usually you'll win the game. It just gets you into more burn cards, and that solidifies the win. Sangan, because it searches almost every important piece of the deck. I ended up main decking 1 Tribe Infecting Virus. It's kind of similar to the role of Exiled Force. I like having it game 1 because I don't know what I'm playing against, and it helps you really just out any problematic monsters that you might come across.
Of course, always.
And the 1 Breaker. Burn decks hate Royal Decree, so this is how you deal with Royal Decree. So next for the spells, the spicy card that was actually the MVP of the deck. Chain Energy. 3 Chain Energy. This card is insane.
Yeah, you gotta pay to freaking play. It's
taxes your opponent heavily. It is symmetrical, so it can hurt you in the long run if you don't play well with it, but this card is insane.
Okay.
Next card that combos well with Chain Energy, Giant Grenade.
Of course.
This helps with the aggression of the pandas, but also it allows you to bounce your chain energies. So I force my opponent to play under chain energy, while I can mitigate damage from my own chain energy. There's another card in the sideboard that combos well with chain energy and Trinade, which I'll go over whenever we get to that. Double level limit, playing majority level 3s, so this card helps you floodgate out, you know, like warriors, big chaos monsters, stuff like that. So very good card for the deck. And then the last 2 spells, of course, best spells in the format.
For sure. No duo, huh?
Duo you don't really need in this deck. Because you play cards like Secret Barrel, I don't care if my opponent has card advantage because you just make my burn traps better.
That makes sense.
So, on to the traps. We'll start with all the burn cards. The Trifecta, 3 Secret Barrel, 3 Just Desserts, and 3 Ojama Trio.
Ojama Trio.
These cards all work very well together. This card makes this better, and of course makes this better as well. This card, Desserts, is kind of lacking if you don't have Trio.
Of course.
Especially if they're not playing a deck that fills the board up quickly.
Spam.
But this card is almost always live, so I'd say Barrel is the best out of the 3.
Especially like after battle phase or something, like you just like when the game is still in battle phase. Like it's terrible, man. I lost to it many times.
This card is great too against people that try and like aggro your Panda. If they have like, if you just have Panda by itself and it's at 1300 because they have 1 monster, they just attack into it. You flip Trio, now it's a 28.
Makes sense.
So pretty good card.
Sorry for the lighting, guys. I just noticed the lighting's bad, the glare, but it's okay.
3 Nightmare Wheel. Nightmare Wheel is great for stalling cards. It can target any monster, regardless if it's face up or face down. So if they're playing Chaos, it's really good for locking their sets face down. So they just can't flip it. You just kind of stall on it, just get free chip damage. Then the last 2 burn, obviously, last 3 burn cards. Ring of Destruction. Cylinder, because you have to respect this card or it'll kill you.
Oh, yeah.
And then Ceasefire.
Yeah, once you see Cylinder once, you're like, oh my goodness. Like,
Yeah, Cylinder is a nasty card.
Makes sense. A perfect 40?
And then the last two would be Gravity Bind.
Okay, Gravity Bind, of
Goes
course.
hand in hand with Level Limit.
Yeah, just freaking catches everyone off guard, especially in game 1. You're like, okay. And then game 2, you're like, what the hell can I side against this?
Right, absolutely. So for the side deck, the first card I'm going to show is Desquala. Desquala is an all-star against any Chaos deck. If he plays Thunder Dragon, I swap this card in. This is also the card I was mentioning that has really good synergy with Trunade and Chain Energy.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason because is, if I have Chain Energy up, on my turn I can Trunade, bounce all their sets. So now I put my opponent in a predicament because, you know, in main phase 2 I'm going to reactivate this card after setting this. So my opponent has one of two options. They either don't set back row again and commit into the Chain Energy, which makes Koala better, or they commit into the Chain Energy and just take chip damage off the bat. So it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. You're going to take damage regardless. So that little trifecta combo right there actually put in a lot of work in the tournament, especially against Chaos. Next I played 2 Mystic Swordsman level 2. Giant Rat can float into him, so it's really good against the Chaos matchup. I play tested both this and Knock, and after the tournament, I think I would rather Knock over this card, but it's not bad because Rat can float into it. So
Yeah,
you have
it's searchable. So
yeah, it's a little bit more consistent way to get to it, but this is a lot easier to deal with than Knock.
for sure.
And then I played 1 Kinetic Soldier for the Warrior matchup.
Just the one of, huh?
Yeah, Rat can float into it as well, and then I'm already main decking 2 Level Limit, 2 Gravity Bind.
Yeah, I just noticed it's level 3. Yeah, I just noticed that.
Yeah,
Wow.
so like you already have enough hate against Warriors, so just the one's usually fine enough. For the spells, I played 1 Heavy, 1 MST. Decree is an ass beating. You gotta have a way to deal with this.
You gotta respect it.
Snatch Steal. I ended up actually putting this card in the side deck because I only won it against Chaos, and I don't know what they're playing game 1, so I don't really need it for game 1. And then I played 1 Mass Driver for the mirror match.
The Mass Driver, hey.
You can sack off the Ojama tokens they give you, you hurt them, and then you make their Panda worse.
Even though you didn't play any mirror matches, you were expecting it, so I respected you.
Yeah, I played against 0 burn, and in playtesting, I played against 2 different burn decks.
Yeah.
And that was out of 18 games, so burn was just not there at all.
For sure.
More burn hate. I played double barrel behind the door. Just these cards would have been great, but I never came across the matchup.
This isn't something you see too often. A lot of older skilled players see this card, they know what it does, but a lot of people have to read it a couple times. Like, oh, okay, that's what it does. Gotcha.
This card is great too, especially because you can chain block them since it's a counter trap card.
Yeah, it makes sense.
For Warriors, 1 Mirror Force, 2 Sakuretsu. Usually I'd side out the Nightmare Wheels, put these in. Just Nightmare Wheel can stall them, but they play usually 2 to 3 Dust Tornado, Heavy Breaker, MST. So there's easy ways to pop out the Nightmare Wheel. So this is way better way to deal with the monsters. And then the final super spicy deck card.
Let's see it. I'm ready for this one.
Unfortunately, it didn't come up.
But in
I wish it
theory,
did, but in theory it was great, and it was the 1 bad reaction to Samochi.
Okay, what does this card do?
So it says whenever your opponent would gain life points, instead they take damage. And what
Continuous, huh?
Yeah. What I noticed was that after the World Championship for GOAT in 2021, Mystic Walk was seeing a lot more play. Its usage rate was actually rising. And it's a great way to deal with burn. And what this card does effectively is it turns Mystic Walk into a liability. Mystic Walk says on activation its cost is to tribute the monster and select the stat that they want to gain life from, and then you just chain this card.
That's crazy.
And so usually they'll sack Chaos Sorcerer or Gravekeeper Spy, pick the higher stat, and you just chain this, and it's cool. Instead of gaining that 23 or 2K, now you just take it. And I mean, you can MST this in response, you can Raigeki break it in response, but unless you have the out, my opponent goes neg 2 and card advantage. Because this is continuous, so I keep it, and if they played Mystic Walk, they lost the spell plus the monster. So they made you go neg 2, and then I turn your best card against me into a liability. So it was a cool tech idea, but it just the one game I drew it, I just ended up discarding it off charity. So.
For sure. No, that's pretty cool, dude. It's the first time I've ever seen that card, and that's why I like want to get this profile from you, because like you bring some insight to GOAT format. There's still changes always occurring. People still figuring out the format, little tech things. YuGiOh has a large card pool, and people don't understand that about GOATs, and so
GOAT, you have to get a little creative since the card pool tends to be a bit more limited.
Yeah.
People expect to see the same thing over and over
Exactly,
again. So
exactly.
the variance is usually what like can win, just matches, just like that one card they didn't expect, and that's kind of what I wanted this to be.
I got you. Well, look, I appreciate the profile, Alex.
I'm glad you had me, man.
And look, next time I'm going to get the first place profile from you, right?
Absolutely. Thank you, sir.
Yes, no problem.
Blessing.
Yes, sir. Well, you guys, thank you for watching the video. And if you guys are new here, please subscribe. And that is all. Take care, guys.
Subscribe, baby.
Hey, yes, sir. Take care, guys.